All right, all right, all right. It is your favorite part time here for unpopular reviews, and tonight we are tackling the Truman Show. This is a interesting movie. You know, dives into what reality TV could really be if a corporation took a child and just put them on TV 24/7 to see what would happen. You know, sort of scripted, but still really real, which they would let you to believe that that's how reality TV is today. Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, I think you'll really enjoy our journey through this one because I think there's a lot of deep thought that can be taken with this one, especially with today's times. So, without further ado, start the show. Now, of course, I can't do this by myself because I'm contractually obligated to have other people with me. So, let's bring them in now. Starting with Vic. Vic,
What's
welcome, welcome, welcome.
good? How you doing?
This is a fun movie. Hope you're ready to talk about it.
Oh yeah, man. I've seen this movie like 16 times,
Oh
bro. Like
wow. Okay.
this movie is a thing. It's hilarious and it's also makes you think.
Yeah, it's definitely
So
thought provoking. And to
yeah,
get some of those thoughts, let's bring in our next host, E Boogie. E Boogie, it's been a while since we've been on the screen together.
Oh, mira que está aquí.
Hi!
Mira que
How's
está
it
aquí.
going? I
Oh
know.
wow.
Long
Oh
time
wow.
no see.
We gotta
I
get a
know, I
drink.
know. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
It's good to see you guys.
Mm.
Likewise, likewise. And we've got another. Bring himself in here. That's right, the executive consultant.
Yes, give me all the praise, give me all the props for being in here. Right?
You're
Go ahead.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're saying it for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Tú eres el único que te cree esa vaina.
Go ahead. Let's talk about it. Truman Show, Jim Carrey themes, ladies and gentlemen, for this month. Jim Carrey, our favorite Jim Carrey movies, and the person who's in first chair right now is the next doctor because this was his pick, right?
It was.
He picked the Truman Show, and I looked at it like, really? All these
Yes.
Jim Carrey movies, and you picked the Truman Show? Tell them why.
Because this was an interesting. When I first saw this, I was like, okay, what kind of a concept is? Because this is before, it was 1990 years before, reality TV was really like a thing. And the concept of a corporation taking a kid and just saying, okay, we're going to adopt this kid, put them on 24/7, just broadcast their whole life and see where this goes. I thought that was interesting. And throughout the movie, you do see how it is captivating. People do get into it, just like reality TV shows started to be. Your Real Housewives, your, whatever the things were on MTV back in the day. I forgot what they were, but it doesn't matter. But people were really getting into this, and I thought it was really interesting premise. Definitely thought provoking.
Great. I'm glad it was thought provoking. And to talk about the political side of aspects, we have our favorite political machine here, and that is Vic. Vic, let's talk about a little bit about this movie.
See,
What things you like? What
funny.
things you want to dive into? What did you notice about this movie? How it was very Ronald Reagan-esque or something? Go ahead, talk about it all right
So,
here.
You know what the funny thing is?
What's that?
When people need me to talk a lot, this is the type of things that they say to me. All right. So,
Talk about it.
so let's get ready to talk a lot because you clearly got to go do something, right? Anyway.
That sounds like something I would do. That really does.
Yeah, Mr. Burns. Anyway, one thing that this movie really made me think of, I think that it's like representative of small town America. And what do I mean by that? You see how the guy was inside of a dome, trapped and not being able to get out. I meet a lot of people like that when they come to the city for the first time. where like they felt like they were trapped in a situation where everybody's doing the same thing and nobody's doing anything different, and everybody has the same expectations. One of the things that you saw clearly in this movie was just like the consistency of everybody doing the same thing, drinking the same beer, doing the same stuff, going to the same, and it felt like,
and wanting to stay there.
yeah, I mean, the other way of phrasing it is, or kind of like correlating it to something is like some kind of like organized religion where everybody's doing the same thing at the same time, and everybody's supposed to, follow these certain rules. And I think that Truman was just like the example, the main example of what everybody's supposed to follow, because it was just sensational TV. It was just something that people were captivated by. His every single move, down to brushing his teeth. Like, it also just shows the need for people to have something to follow. Now watching it again, it really reminds me of the political aspects of where people just care about how they feel, not necessarily about what's going on. And that's what's happening. A lot of that is happening now, where it's just like I only care about how I feel and the systems in place or the people in place or this and that. And none of that matters as long as I feel good. And I think that this movie revealed a lot of that behavior that goes on. That's why I think that it's very thought provoking. Other than that, like, it's very funny. Just him.
Ooh. I mean, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, because it's Jim Carrey. And then the other thing with that is just that one thing I always liked about this movie is that there's a point in Jim Carrey's career where he really wanted to get away from the silliness. And I think that this movie is the movie that it was starting to get him to transition away from that. Even though, unfortunately for him, he was always typecasted as that. Like, I've been waiting for an Ace Ventura 3 forever. Forever. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. But, and I've been waiting for a sequel for Liar Liar because, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Because it's Jim Carrey. But still, like, it was very, very interesting.
This movie definitely shows some range from him.
Oh yeah, and the guy's got range. You know what I mean? He can definitely do some serious stuff and still be very silly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, him being Joe Biden after Joe Biden won, it was just classic to me. Like the who's a her, that shit was just great. You know what I mean? But it's Jim Carrey. The guy is just a national treasure. That's why I'm glad we're doing Jim Carrey movies right now. So I wonder if I talked enough, because I probably got another 2 more minutes where I could ramble about some.
I'm pretty sure you can ramble for another 5 minutes, but we got to keep this one going. And E Boogie, I should have started with you because I always believe in ladies first. But I forget that you're on because you haven't been here in like 29 years. But E Boogie, welcome back to the show. What do you think? She told Jim Carrey. She picked this, right? She picked this theme. She said, Jim Carrey, that means I have to show up. So I am happy to see you, E Boogie. Let's talk about a little bit of Truman Show.
Well, I'm glad that you were finally able to get me on the schedule. It's been really busy on this side, booked and busy. So it's nice to come back and see the little commoners, do our thing that we used to do. You know what I mean? Like back in the day.
It's nice to have you back.
It's good to be back. Now, this movie, I had to come back for this movie because The Truman Show was a favorite of mine for a long time. I saw it as a really young person that probably shouldn't have been able to understand some of the concepts that were being conveyed in the movie. It came out in 1998, which was kind of like at the rise of these reality TV shows like The Real World and The Challenge, these things that MTV was doing. That being said, this plot and this story really takes that concept and then twists it by having it be about somebody that did not give their consent. And a big piece of this is political to me because they say it in the movie, this is the first time that a company has been able to adopt a child, an unwanted child. And from that point, what they did is exploit him as soon as they were able to adopt him. Now, I'm sure that the creator didn't feel like that's what it was exactly. He thought he was making art, and in some sense it was. It was a series that probably was the longest standing series in that universe. And it's a series that brought people together, people from all different walks of life, because they felt some connection to him. And he feels like the average Joe, he feels like your best friend. And it's someone that you, as you're watching him grow over the years, it's somebody that you like, hey, everybody just kind of knows him, right? He's like a household name. That aside, I'll talk about Jim Carrey a little bit. I absolutely love him. He is one of the actors that, to me, has not only been given the opportunity to show and demonstrate their range, and he has a huge range. He's got some big acting chops, but he does it all so well that it's almost like I'm wondering if I'm getting the real Jim Carrey out off screen, because he's so good at embodying all of his characters. Now, in this role, he did kind of get to flex two facets. He definitely still was able to get in his comedy bag, right? He had his moments, this one being one of them. This is like trademark Jim Carrey, right? He's very much so like body humor, physical humor. But he also has these moments with these quips. I'll reference the scene where he is like, finally the straw that had broke the camel's back was seeing the craft services table behind that elevator, and then them trying to kind of hurry up and assemble the rest of the elevator so that it didn't. I mean, I at that point, I don't know what they thought they were doing, but that really
they were in damage control.
Yeah, I mean, but he's seeing it happen. So to me, it's like, look, you need to be able to spin it. Everybody needs to be able to have some sort of something ready to go just in case. You'd think 30 years down the line, and all of these different instances in his life where people have jumped in and said, it's a TV show, you're on TV, and like just kind of spoiling the joke, I guess. They'd be more prepared, right? And but
it goes to show the hubris that they had. I mean, the guy had his studio was in the moon. You know, he was acting like he was God.
Yes, Christoph very much so had this God complex, not unfamiliar to men of his age and ilk. I think that he was very creative, and I loved that. I loved that scene where he did that kind of directing. The best friend, kind of getting him grounded, and then setting him up for the father's mystic turn with the fog and stuff. He's like,
wait, music up.
Yeah, and it kind of scares me to think about it, but in essence, these artists at that level that are curating these things, it's like this film is meta, right? It's like we're the viewers watching the viewers watch Truman and also watching Truman. But it's a little scary to think about these directors and these producers that are creating these scenes like this in film. It's like you really have to know the human psyche. And I think Christoph really understood that. I think that he felt power having all of this influence over this, I don't even know what to call it, Sea Haven, over this domed world. It seemed like he slept there. It seemed like a lot of people slept there. But yeah, it was just very odd to me. I think that this movie is interesting. It's very layered, it's very complex. But Jim Carrey,
when they were doing the actors, they talked about how that wasn't just a job; it was their life.
Yeah,
that was the
Meryl.
They lived this.
Yeah,
so definitely they were sleeping there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that recurring actors, right? But like extras, they're not gonna necessarily be there. If they're people that he recognizes their face, people he saw every day, the twin gentlemen who were always gonna sign the contract and never did, right? The neighbors who all knew what his line was because he said it every day. It's these things that Vic was referencing. Like he kind of was trapped by fear, but that fear was curated by his guardian. It's just
the level of manipulation was
Yeah, it was really deep. But I think what Jim Carrey does always in all of his films, whether they're comedic or um, more drama, is that he really adds some heart to the story. He adds some heart to the character, and I think that Truman really embodies kind of what I think Jim Carrey is like. Like he is really a wholesome guy, I imagine. And I feel like this character Truman, felt like second nature to him at that time of his life. He's a wholesome guy. He's a funny guy. He has a generally positive outlook, I would hope. And he's empathetic. He's like the kind of guy you want to be around. He's a nice person, and I think these people fell in love with him. And toward the end, despite Christoph's soliloquy about why he should stay and never leave Sea Haven, and just let him, be the father that never really was, right? Just continue to keep him safe from the outside world. And Truman just deciding, you know what, this isn't it. I don't want this. In my heart, I want adventure. I want reality. I want real. I think that the audience kind of feeling that, even though they love the show, they're dedicated to it. They have it on. It's been on 10,931 days or however long. They really wanted that for him. Once they realized that he's just a man who eventually got wise and wanted his freedom, I think that everybody kind of supported that. And I loved that ending. It was so good. So good. That's all I got.
All right, executive consultant, I know that you've got something to add. I know you're just chomping at the bit to tell us your take on it. So why don't you take it away?
So I avoided this movie for a while. People are like, hey, you see that Truman Show? I was in high school. Young buck. And I'm like, nah, I have no interest. He's not wearing a mask. He's not wearing a Batman villain outfit. I have no interest in this movie. And then, like I saw a few movies back in the day. I was asleep, and then I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and can't go sleep. So I turned on like Showtime or HBO or something like that. And I said, okay. And I watched the last part of this movie. This movie's stupid. Yeah, it's stupid. It's not for Chris. You know what I'm saying? It's not for your executive consultant. Then one day I got bored, and I decided stop. I decided to watch this movie from beginning to end. So I watched the movie from beginning to end. I was like, hey, you know what? It's not that bad. I can see why people like this movie, right? There's some flaws. There's flaws in every movie. Let's talk about the flaws. Okay. The extras were not really extraing, right? What does that mean, Chris? I'm talking like Vic. What does that mean? Okay. What do I mean by that? This is what I mean by that. I mean, there were times where I'm like, okay, you're being a little too extra last, extra long. And it bothered me a little bit. Like, for instance, him hitting some guy who's painting. No, dude, break your character. Hey, what was that? That's more believable. If I was the director, you would have fired immediately, right? Don't just sit there. You're not helping what we're trying to do. You're making it hot, bro. That's why you're an extra and you're not a regular cast, man. You're not a recurring character. You're an extra, and that's why.
And I would have liked them to show some of that, because when he was on the beach and then the rain was just over him, whoever did that should have been fired. Stupid. I was thinking about that when I was like, how are you just going to do that? And
Beyonce would never allow that.
And then do the rest of the way? No, you failed your chance.
Beyonce would have called her out on stage.
I know, but wasn't the rain following him?
Yeah,
it was.
That was the worst part.
It felt like me when I'm in New York City. No, so anyway, so I'm like, what is going on? What is going on right now?
New York jokes.
Like, what is going on? I didn't understand it. Let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you some good scenes. I love these scenes, right? I love the scene where, actually, I'll lead in from one scene to the other. I love the scene where he said, get in the car. Got in the car, and then once the three things that he called, right? And I'm thinking, y'all should have been smarter than that. Y'all got all these freaking extras. Y'all could have come up with something a little bit better in patterns or whatever. And mics. And you hear him say, hey, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. You would think, oh, make a left. Don't go straight. But no, they still did it, right? But that's fine. You know what I'm saying? The movie can't be perfect. and it added to the plot. I understand. I'm watching the movie. I get it. I'm not going to nitpick everything, right? Well, like, oh, that was stupid. Okay, cool. I'm not going to ignore the fact that the neighbor had the obvious cam in his trash can. I'm going to ignore that, right? I'm going to ignore it. It's right there in the freaking middle, bro. It wasn't even a hidden one. It was like this. Like, hey, Truman, how you doing? Now, that being said, he says, get in the car. And then they ride. I love that car scene where they're riding around and he said, he's telling his story. He's telling how he feels. He's venting all his frustrations to the person he thought was not his love, but his wife, his partner. And then all of a sudden, this mysterious traffic comes out. So then he goes around. He said, you know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to go. And look at this. It's clear. Love it. I wish I could do that in real life with traffic. I loved it. It was perfect. That's another thing. Then the other scene, which is actually my favorite scene, even though it was a real short scene, but subtle, when he's explaining to his wife who's saying, hey, you need help. You tried to go and attack some people because of radiation, all this other stuff. And she went into a commercial. Not the smartest time. That's your unprofessional lady. That was probably not the smartest time to do a commercial in the kitchen, right? But you did. And he looked, and this is some of the best acting. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I don't think Jim Carey is a bad actor. I think he's a very good actor. But in my opinion, that scene was Oscar-worthy work, right? He said, looked around and said, who are you talking to? Like, I felt you when you did that, bro. I felt you.
Yes.
Who are you talking to? There's nobody here. This is me and you. Because realistically speaking, at one point in time, everybody, I dare you, I challenge you, everybody has felt like they were Truman in the show. They felt like, is somebody watching me? Am I on TV? And that's how he felt like, what is this? What is going on? You tell me, talk to me, what's up? And she's acting all weird because everything was set up. I thought this movie told a great story, whether it's political, whether it's not political, whether it's a humane side of it. It hit all the aspects in every point, even the romance side, even though the romance side was actually very, very small in this movie. He was trying to get to her partially, but they only had, 2-3 scenes together? That was really short. But it was impactful and was powerful the entire time. Another thing that was impactful and powerful was the relationship between him and Christoph, who I found out never even met on set. And now when I looked at me, I was like, well, damn, they never had a scene together. They could easily tape that scene without them being there. Right? Mm-hmm. Christoph's God pledge. Christoph, we talk about Hunger Games. This man up here is like, I don't want to host. I hosted the entire Hunger Games. And I'm like, I think about the Hunger Games, and the reason I mention Hunger Games is I think the villain, Snow, is one of the greatest villains, underrated villains in movie history. That Donald Sutherland played that movie villain great. Just wanted to slap him a few times. Right? Christoph, in his short scenes, especially when he was trying to kill Truman, and then you have the balls to turn around and say, hey, you should stay here with me. I know I just tried to drown you in front of billions of people, but you should stay here with me. What kind of toxic, narcissistic ass shit is that? And I work for a hotel. Trust me, I've seen them all. But that's the kind of shit he was trying to do. I just literally tried to kill you. I tried to kill you once. You weren't taking it. I said, crank this shit up. You weren't taking it. I said, crank that bitch up some more. Right? To the point where you were capsized and you were nailed to cross without the cross. Like right here, right? That's how he was looking on the thing. He was like right here. And everybody's looking like, oh, that's so sad. And then he's waking up and they're like, oh, yeah. And he's looking like, son of a bitch. He survived. Hey, you should stay here with me. You're not going to have any kind of anything, but stay here with me. You know, I
in that moment, because earlier in the movie when the First Love called in, he mentioned if he really wanted to leave, there's nothing we could do to stop him. And correct. I think once he survived that and he started to just sail on, I think that's when Christoph knew I've lost him.
He should have known the minute that man put a doll in bed and said, I'm asleep, and he wasn't asleep. That's when he should have known it was over. Everything that woman said, I don't remember her name. I called her Magazine Face. Ever since Magazine Face told her that what was going to happen, he should have known. This man was so desperate to find this guy. He sent every extra. And all of a sudden, the city was going on the hunt like Osama bin Laden was in the city, right? They were all on the man hunt to try to find this guy. What were you going to do when 700 people find this guy? They're going to say, oh, yeah, Truman, your mom called us. So, no, the jig is up, bro. You were trying to kill and save face. You were trying to get another child so you can have a sequel, a mini series or something. I say sequel because Vic's in the building, but a spinoff. That's what you're trying to do. That child was going to be called Truman Burbank, California Jr. That's what this thing would have been. Crazy, bruh. Christoph, you're crazy. You're in my top 10 villains because I really hated you. Really hated you. Here's a fun fact. They offered that role of Truman to Samuel L. Jackson.
Nice.
Really?
What? Oh, I really think I might like that. That sounds like it would be good. I'd like to see that. I would definitely like to see that. Wow.
Mm.
And I also read an article about how Jim Carrey thought about what would be a sequel. You know, it would take place after he walked through the door.
Well, yeah,
He would still feel alone, but it would be in modern times.
I'm going to say something very unpopular, especially today. Very unpopular, very controversial. Truman Show never needed a sequel. None of Jim Carrey's movies, in my opinion, needed a sequel. Not Truman Show, not Dumb and Dumber, not Ace Ventura, not Liar Liar, not Fun with Dick and Jane. Only Sonic the Hedgehog is the only movie I've seen that had a sequel. That had,
of course, the video game based one needs a sequel, right?
That's that because I understand how they did. But all the other movies he's played, I've never seen a movie that needed a sequel. I think the sequel actually takes away from the first one in all his movies that were huge. Mask doesn't need a sequel, and it got a sequel. Son of Mask, woohoo! How well did that do? Bruce Almighty. None of his movies needed.
He wasn't in that one.
Yeah, but
he wasn't any of them because he's smart enough to know. Except for Dumb and Dumber, where he was Dumb and Dumber.
No, but
none of his movies did not need a
sequel.
Did not need a sequel.
I think it's world known that part 2 of Ace Ventura is the one, right?
Did not.
That one's good. That one was good.
You would say that, Vic.
That's the one, right?
You gotta tell me that is not popping. Get out of here, bro.
The first one was better.
The first one was way better. The second one, we're in the Jim Carrey month of movies. We're going to talk about some more movies of Jim Carrey. Stay with us. You're watching Unpopular Review. Find out we're reviewing next Thursday. Find out we're reviewing next Tuesday.
I wish that for only one day Dad couldn't tell a lie.
Is he good for you? I've had better. Oh.
Any change, mister? Absolutely. Could you spare some? Yes, I could. I can't lie.
All he can do is tell the truth.
Like a new dress?
Whatever it takes to focus off your head.
Liar, liar.
That's a great premise.
Live or die. Make your choice. Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Welcome back, where we discuss whether or not Jim Carrey would have the acting chops to play in Saw. Executive consultant, thoughts?
Definitely.
I think he can play in Saw. I think he'll do a damn good job in Saw. And maybe if he played in Saw, they wouldn't have any sequels because Jim Carrey don't need any sequels. Ladies and gentlemen, next Tuesday we continue our Saw franchise at 8:30 p.m. with Saw 3. Looking forward to that one. And of course, next Thursday continue our Jim Carrey franchise with none other than my pick, which is Liar, Liar. Looking forward to that, one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. But we're talking about the Truman Show now, and now we're going to get into our final thoughts with a thumbs up and thumbs down. We're going to start with the person who should have started last time because, hey, my eyes, ladies first. E-Boogie, final thoughts, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm cool with that. So this movie was very impactful and formative for me. I think I built a level of empathy and also like wokeness seeing this movie as a kid. This movie is very like late stage capitalism, but then simultaneously I watched a series on Amazon Prime not too long ago that kind of captures the same energy as this movie called Jury Duty. And it's about this average Joe kind of guy that doesn't know that everybody is an actor around him. And I think the show's premise, like the movie, is kind of to demonstrate this guy that's just wholesome. Like he is the salt of the earth. He's like who we want to represent humanity, right? He's somebody that we feel just like when he's awkward, we've gone through that time. When he's joyful and joyous, we've gone through that. When he's gone through trials and sorrows, we felt that as well. And I really love that about this movie. It's got staying power in my memory. It's definitely a movie everyone should see. And it is a thumbs up for me.
Vic, go ahead, my man.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious what you're doing there. I think it's funny. But listen, this movie right here is a perfect example of the hardcore desire for blissful ignorance. And I think that a lot of people want to live in a place that's blissfully ignorant, to the point where they want to know what's being marketed to them. They want to know what everybody else does, and they want to keep it that way. I'll give you an example. Most people would never go to the place that kills chickens and eats and buy a live chicken, as opposed to going to the supermarket and buying it already wrapped and marked with a label and all of things like that, even though the same process happens. But most people wouldn't go through the process of actually going and see the chicken being with their head shaken and killed and all of that. Why? Because they
want to see the sausage man.
Prefer to say blissfully ignorant. Right. So, and I think that this movie represents that to the fullest, because they went hardcore to keep him blissfully ignorant. Why? Because that's what was over. That's what was being marketed. That was the main thing that everybody wanted to see. They wanted to see somebody that was blissfully ignorant in the perfect life, and to live vicariously through him. And I think that this movie really, really depicted it very well, because at the end of the day, it's like being a bunch of Muppets. You know what I mean? It's like all of you are a bunch of Muppets, and you're all susceptible to our marketing. And mind you, here's the thing. Now, it really is showing about the way that we live now, right? Because now we put an advertisement before everything, anything and everything. You understand? We create content like crazy. Hey, look, I chipped my toenails, and if she's hot, she'll get 1,000 views, and somebody will put a commercial before it, because that's where we live now in the Truman Show. So, thumbs up.
The next Doctor, we are on you.
I always thought this movie was interesting because of the concept. You know, they had a whole baby and they just broadcasted it. You know, as E Boogie said, this, corporate, height of corporate, America right there. I mean, this was really corporate America dialed up to 11. They had all of the power and they displayed it. Everything was curated. He was manipulated to do exactly what they wanted him to do until he figured it out. And even after that, they still tried to do it, in their hubris. And I do think that it does mirror a lot of things about today, all of the different things we see on TV, there's always an agenda, everything's always curated, and you can just go blissfully ignorant, living in that echo chamber. So I think it, art imitates life a lot, and that's what this was. But as far as, the movie itself, definitely a thumbs up for me. I mean, Jim Carrey did a phenomenal job in this, and, it's definitely one of my favorites. And that's why I picked it. And now the executive consultant.
I messed that up. So here's my thing. I love this movie. I do. Like I said, what did somebody say? Somebody says, I regret not seeing this movie in the theater. I regret not seeing this movie when it first came out. I enjoyed this movie tremendously from beginning to end. I thought it had a nice pace, and it did something that not a lot of movies do for me, right? It did something that I was unable to do with other movies that are going to remain unnamed. It made me cheer for the hero. right? As it should. Because some movies don't make me cheer for the hero. They don't make me cheer for the villain. They make me cheer for the credits. And then there are other movies that made me cheer for the hero. And the entire time he was there, and especially on that boat, I was cheering for him to survive and to get to that door that's behind the next doctor up there. I was happy when he pretty much told Christoph, F you, B word. I am walking through that door and I'm going to live a healthy life. And when he did it, I was just like that man in the tub that has absolutely no life whatsoever, right? And surprised the toaster didn't go into his bathtub. I cheered and I clapped and I said, yes, Truman, yes, yes. I'm proud of you. And Truman Show did that for me. Truman Show did that for me. Where other movies that should have done that for me failed. So when the question gets asked to me, do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? It gets a thumbs up. Jim Carrey, I applaud you for having a spectacular 90s outside of Dumb and Dumber. A spectacular 90s. Thank you.
First Dumb and Dumber was still good.
No. Thank you for the Truman Show.
Yeah, it was. You're tripping.
No.
Yeah.
No. I want to see Dumb and Dumber. I'll walk through downtown DC. I'll walk through any borough of New York. You know what I'm saying? I'll walk through Paramore.
But was Dumb and Dumber better than the Batman?
In South Philly.
We gotta do that episode so I can let you know because I don't know.
Head to head.
I might have to go with the Batman. Like Dumb and Dumber, I really hate that movie. I really hate that movie, man.
You heard it here first.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching us here at Unpopular Review Entertainment. Please make sure that you join us for all our Unpopular Review shows, whether it be wrestling, whether it be entertainment, on Unpopular Review Wrestling and Unpopular Review Entertainment YouTube. For the meantime, we will go see you in a few minutes actually for Pacific Rim 2, some of us, which I forgot about there in the other room. So thank you so much for watching us. For Next Doctor, for Vic, for E-Boogie, I'm the Executive Consultant, and we will see you right here next time on Unpopular Review. Good night, everybody. Dumb and Dumber is terrible.
It was not.